probably remembered most because of the elements, what was coming down from above, including gigantic snowflakes. I remember being in the stands that day, third base side at Camden Yards, and it looked like something between a golf ball and a baseball was coming from the sky rapidly, I might add, and they played on. If you don't believe me, watch.
I feel sorry for the folks trying to watch this on television because I don't suppose they can see anything on their monitor.
They should run a crawl. Do not touch your dial. It really is a blizzard now. It is really coming down. Unbelievable. But we continue.
Fans trying to get everybody behind Rodrigo Lopez here with this 1-2 strike count. Runners walking their leads from first and second. Lopez sets deliberately. Looks back at the runner at second base, Vizquel.
1-2 pitch. In the air, up the line and right. Gibbons can't find it. I'm not sure Chuck Merriweather could either. It landed fair. Vizquel to the plate. Over to third is Matt Lawton on the opposite field. Snow affected. Base hit off the bat of Ellis Burks. Jake Gibbons never had an opportunity to pick up the baseball, Jim. He was asking for help right from the beginning.
And now Mike Hargrove is going to talk to home plate umpire Tim Welke. Mike says that this game should not continue, and that's what's going to happen. They're going to take the players off the field during this snow. So it's a 2-1 lead for the Cleveland Indians on a snow-aided fly ball.
A bizarre moment in Oriole Park at Camden Yards history. And on Orioles Magic, the podcast, I had a chance to talk to Rodrigo Lopez, who got the start that day for Baltimore, about that really crazy moment.
Well, that was my first opening day. I was coming off of just a great rookie year. And, yeah, like, honestly, dealing with that kind of weather situation, I never had before. And I remember we just come from Fort Lauderdale. We make a stop, I believe, in New York to play the Mets. So we start to to get used to the weather. So the night before or the day before, we got a workout in the Camden Yard. So it was snowing a little bit. So I went out there to jog just to get the feeling of the weather. And I remember that day. Actually, that was a day game. It was beautiful at the beginning. The first 2 innings, they were beautiful. I didn't think it was going to snow. So top of the third, I went to start to see the snowflakes to come down and everything. And got 2 men on base. And remember facing Alex Burns. I'm not sure. I believe I have him in 2 strikes. So when I see the snowflakes coming down, I was like, all right, probably this is my chance to get him out. So it was hard for me to see the signs from my catcher, from Geronimo Gill. So like it would be even harder for him to see the ball. So I dropped in the slider. I've been seeing that video a bunch of times. Really bad slider. So he connected. And then my until now, but the way I remember, that ball went out by the right side, by the right line, hit the stands, and come back into the right field. So I don't know if you see the video. Kind of Jake Gibbons go forward and then runs in diagonal, turns the scoreboard to the message center over there. I remember the way I think it happened is like hit the stands, the ball came back. The umpire didn't even see where the ball was when it was in the air. So when the umpire realized where the ball was, of course, wasn't a fair ball. So he called fair ball. And that was a totally confusion. So I think all the players, as well the Orioles and the Indians player, don't know what was happening. So I think Omar Vizquel scored, and you can see he's almost walking. Alex Burns, like he just barely make it to the first base because he don't know where the ball was, or probably he knew where the ball was. So, and the guy who was on deck, I don't know if you guys remember, you probably do, Karim Garcia, a former Oriole. and a countryman of mine, he told me the ball was on the stands because he got a different angle. So after the game, we get together and everything is like, man, that ball hit the stands and came back. It's like, well, that was not my day. So all these days, when was that? 2003. So 17 years still, I think it was a foul ball.
That's from Oriole Rodrigo Lopez, and you can hear that interview coming up tomorrow on Orioles Magic. The podcast available at Orioles.com and wherever your podcasts are downloaded. Rodrigo, an interesting guy, pitched in Baltimore for 5 years, won 60 games, pitching for some pretty bad teams in the American League East, had a number of really good seasons, and started 3 opening days for the Orioles, including this one back in March of 2003.
Rodrigo, now 27 years old, out of Mexico City. 15-9 a year ago with an ERA of 3.57.
And baseball in Baltimore officially back on this March 31st.
Here's the 1-0 pitch, swinging a bouncer towards second. It's slowly. Hairston plays the hop, throws out Lawton. 3 up, 3 down go the Tribe on 3 ground balls. A very good start for Rodrigo Lopez.
As for the game that day, it was actually a good one. The Orioles end up winning the game in 13 innings. To get there, though, they needed a bomb late in the game from Marty Cordova.
Orioles would love to get this run in here and hold to at least within 1. Risky from the stretch.
Towering drive, deep left. Track, wall, see you later. Marty Cordova has jolted David Risky to tie it at 4 apiece.
And a 2-out rally for the Birds. What a debut for the season for Cordova. 2 hits, including a game-tying 2-run homer.
A big blow there by Marty Cordova, but the Orioles and Indians played on for a long time that opening day into the 13th inning when Gary Matthews Jr. was the batter.
Bases full of Birds with 2 men down.
On a line to center. Racing back, can't get it, Bradley. Opening day, walk-off instant win, Orioles on the Gary Matthews base hit in the 13th.
And who's one of the first guys out of the dugout to congratulate him? Rodrigo Lopez, who started this 13-inning game way back when.
And joining me right now is my partner for Orioles Magic, the podcast, Orioles broadcaster Geoff Arnold. And Geoff, we just heard a little bit from Rodrigo Lopez. You can hear the entire interview tomorrow on Orioles Magic, the podcast available at Orioles.com or wherever podcasts are downloaded. A fascinating interview. Obviously, we get into opening day 2003. We'll see that game coming up right here. But we get into his career, his time with Baltimore, what he's doing now. He's had an interesting professional baseball life.
And maybe the only person that we've talked to who's played for the Culiacan Tomateros. Or maybe it's Tomateros de Culiacan, I'm not sure exactly. But it was his time in the Mexican League right after he left the Padres. He battled an injury in 2001. And it was his time while he was there that allowed him, I think, to build his confidence back, to show himself that he still had it. And in the process, he stood out to an Orioles scout who ended up signing him. And what transpired in that 2002 season, before he made the opening day start in the game that we're about to see in 2003, was that in 2002 was very similar to John Means. They signed him as basically death at AAA, and he pitched so well that he surprised everybody. He ended up making the roster. He goes into the starting rotation. He pitched so well that he never left. I mean, that sounds a lot like John Means from last season to me, but Rodrigo has some great stories, and it's interesting to think that what he would have been if maybe he had pitched in another division, because he was facing those challenging Yankees and Red Sox teams back in those days, and still a bunch of those years he managed to win 15 games. Yeah, those teams pretty much at their apex for the last decade. And then, Geoff, also, if you're hungry for baseball, if you're thirsty for it, a lot of great old podcasts we've already done to catch up on right now. The Bill Ripken one is out. That's a fun conversation. Rick Sutcliffe, Scotty McGregor, a whole bunch to listen to right now. Lots of great stories. He can get some barbecue tips with Boog Powell. Don't forget that as well. And Scotty McGregor, his story about Wheel of Fortune with Joe Altobelli, I mean, that was really, really good. And then you also have to remember some of the other early ones that we did too. Robert Andino telling the story about the curse of the Andino game. That was a fun one. And this has become probably the highlight of at least the highlight of my week. And I'm sure it's probably become the highlight of your week too.
And don't forget tomorrow, 2 really cool things. One, MLB The Show playoffs have begun, including Dwight Smith, who went 19-10, Geoff, in the regular season. Dwight Smith Jr., Orioles outfielder, 19-10 in the regular season for MLB The Show. Also, tomorrow, Anthony Santander is taking over Orioles Instagram, a Friday takeover for the Orioles slugger.
I guarantee you, whatever he's going to put out on Instagram, it's going to be a heck of a lot more fun and entertaining than what I'd put out on Instagram.
And will all of his fans in the UK be there waiting for him on Instagram tomorrow?
I wouldn't put it past him. I mean, they're battling it too. I have a buddy over in the UK right now who says that conditions are pretty similar to what we're experiencing here.
Yeah, Anthony Santander obviously has a big following. It's one of my favorite stories across the pond. But, Geoff, we'll talk on Orioles Magic, the podcast, and we'll catch up soon.
Looking forward to it.
And before we look back at opening day 2003 at Camden Yards, it's an important time to think of others throughout Birdland. And a really good way to do that right now is to go to Orioles.com/community resources. A time for all of us to come together in Baltimore, in Maryland, and throughout Birdland, and to help our fellow Marylanders in need. You can go to Orioles.com/community resources to learn more, or you can donate through Facebook and YouTube streams on the Orioles channels. And now it's time to send it to opening day and relive opening day 2003 in downtown Baltimore, one that will be remembered for the snow of all things, to talk about springtime and opening day at Camden Yards. Enjoy the game, and thanks for being with us on Deck